Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the podcast. We're excited to bring you some research results about nitrogen stabilizers and hybrid bromegrass seed production. This is a project supported by the Saskatchewan Forage Seed Development Commission and the Government of Saskatchewan through the ADOPT program demonstration of new varieties, new technology. We wrote this grant in response to producers' requests to understand how to maximize profitability while at the same time maintaining nutrient supply for multiple years of seed production in hybrid bromegrass. As you may be aware, Saskatchewan produces 60% of the hybrid bromegrass seed for all of Canada. The remainder comes mostly from the Peace region. And that works out to approximately 140,000 kilograms of seed every year. Okay, so what we did this year was we applied for a ADOPT grant in 2022 to measure 3 different forms of nitrogen stabilizers added to fertilizers, or to urea specifically, 4600. And we did 3 different times of application. So typically in the Northeast Saskatchewan, where a lot of the forage seed production is, the growers will broadcast in the fall for convenience sake, because that fits with their rotation. But more importantly, that actually is the good time to feed those hybrid bromegrass plants so that that then determines the seed set for the next year. We've learned that through studies done in various universities and the Peace region. And as well, there's some studies from Europe on the nature of the hybrid or the bromegrasses and when they need those critical nutrients. So we needed to find a balance between how much fertilizer to put on and when. At the time of seeding, we placed the seed for required nutrients based on the soil test, supplying phos as well as the other macro and micronutrients. In fall 2022, we did the early fall application of the 3 different stabilizers as well as urea. And we applied for a rate of 120 pounds per acre based on the soil test results. We also repeated a timing in late fall and in spring 2023. What we learned in 2023 was it really didn't matter what form of fertilizer we put on compared to the untreated control, because the primary limitation in 2022-23, as many of the growers know, was the environment. The plants just never did achieve their genetic potential, and there was enough soil nutrients available for them that the untreated control was no different than any of the other 12 treatments. So that was a very important lesson for us. So we took residuals, basically late fall 2023, to understand what form of fertilizer might be remaining in the most quantity. And again, there was some variation, but nothing that was compelling evidence that any one product or any one timing was much different. However, we continued with the project and we received a second-year funding. Thank you to the Government of Saskatchewan. So from that, we shifted up our application time to do a split fall-spring application and a late fall application and an early spring application. The board of directors felt that that was more in line with potential for what growers might do. So what we did in 2024 was basically the same metrics for determining the productivity, and we measured height, and at the time just before harvest, we measured wet weight, so biomass, as well as dry biomass, and seed yield. So Brianne McGinnis will be included in this video, and she was the project manager and research manager of the Northeast Agriculture Research Foundation, and she'll explain the methodology in more detail for the 2024 seed production year, so second year production. I just wanted to highlight a few things after we hear Brianne's presentation.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Brianne McGinnis, and I'm the Operations Manager for the Northeast Agriculture Research Foundation here at Melfort. We are one of 8 agro sites located throughout the province of Saskatchewan, And we do mostly small plot research and demonstration projects here at our site. We're located at the Melfort Research Farm, just 1 mile south of Melfort, Saskatchewan. I am standing here in some hybrid brome plots that are in their second year of seed production. So this area was seeded July 5th of 2022 to AC Success Hybrid Brome at 11 kilograms per hectare. It was direct seeded into canola stubble. We used 1 liter per acre of Roundup prior to seeding. And like I said, last year was its first year of seed production in 2023. We collected plant establishment, crop height, lodging, biomass at harvest timing, and then seed yields as well. And then in the fall last year, we did some fall soil sampling on August 18th to determine the residuals in these plots. We did composite soil sampling for all 13 treatments. So in this project, we have 13 treatments. We have an untreated control that has received no fertility throughout the duration of the project, except for phosphorus and potassium at seeding time. The remaining treatments, in their first year of application, we did an early fall, late fall, and a early spring application. All applications were 90 kilograms per hectare of nitrogen broadcast as urea. And now in the second year, we're looking at late fall applications, a split application in the fall and the spring, and then another early spring application, which we put on in early 2024. In our applications, we did 120 pounds of total nitrogen broadcast. The late fall application went on October 18th, 2023, just before, about a week before winter set in for us. And then our spring app, where we did our split apps, and then just our early blanket app of 120 pounds per acre, was done on May 9th of 2024, sorry. In the split app, we did an 80-40 split. So we did 80 pounds of N at the fall application, and then we did 40 pounds of N in the spring application. And then the spring only applications got that 120 pounds at just in one application. This year, we'll be collecting the same data we did as last year, looking at plant establishment, crop height, lodging prior to harvest. We'll be biomassing at the same time as we would typically swath as well. And then we'll be collecting seed yield data here probably in about a week and a half to 2 weeks. The average crop height right now for this year is around 140 centimeters. And we've had about 8 inches of rain so far, which is double what we had last season. So we're hoping for some more promising yield results this year, and hopefully some more apparent nitrogen responses as far as yield goes.
Thank you, Brianne, for that lovely introduction of our 2024 trial at Melfort just prior to seed harvest. For those of you who are looking at this podcast with their PC or your phone, apologies for the very busy table, but I wanted to ensure accuracy of the numbers that I report to you. So what we have here is a table of the seed yield from second year harvest seed production at Melfort Research Station. And what we have done is we tested the Bare Urea and Agrotane Advanced, Anvil, and Super U. And again, those products are used or selected because of their availability to growers in the northeast area of Saskatchewan, where most of the hybrid bromegrass seed would be grown. And as well, we've got a few other growers in other areas, but these products are typically available. So the Agrotane Advanced is a single active urease inhibitor, NBPT, at 670 ppm. The dual active ingredient, urease inhibitor, NBPT, plus duramide with NBP2 at 750 ppm. Nitrogen is Anvil. And we have the dual inhibitor, urease and a nitrification inhibitor, that is in Super U. And that gives a producer 600 ppm of NBPT and 8,500 ppm of DCD. That's the nitrification inhibitor. So the prices in the fall, I have taken those into consideration on the calculations that we have. So fall 2023 prices reads as follows. Bare urea, 600 a ton. On top of that you would add Agrotane Advanced at 150 a ton, 105 a ton. Anvil at 124 per ton. And Super U would already have the bare urea incorporated with it, and that would be $760 a ton. Now, this year, the prices did change, so we saw elevated prices in spring 2024 of $840 a ton for the bare urea, and Agrotane Advance went up to $118 per ton. Anvil stayed the same, and Super U went up as well to be $1,110 per ton. And again, all of these are applied at 120 pounds per acre. Now, the other thing that is important to remember, the seed yield is a reflection also of the available moisture in combination with fertilizer in 2024 seed harvest. So in comparison to 2023, where we had 166 total millimeters of precipitation throughout the growing season for the hybrid bromegrass, that includes the snowfall in the winter before 2022, we had 390 millimeters in 2023-24. So you're seeing the genetic potential being achieved. Now, the other important things to note on this slide that I have for you is there is no significant difference in any of the nitrogen fertilizer, whether it was with enhanced efficiency fertilizer, as would be desired for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, specifically the nitrous oxide. So to the grower, it's about your seed yield. So what the slide tells you is there is no difference in seed yield at Melfort in 2024. But it's extremely important to note the difference in the untreated control. So that had no extra nitrogen fertilizer. The other thing that's important to take away on the slide is that the single active ingredients are no longer eligible for the off-calf rebate under the nitrogen management program offered by the federal government. And however, Anvil is still eligible for late fall, but not for the fall part of the split application. So you best focus on the spring application for that, and not the split, and not the fall application in the split. It's rather confusing. Don't ask me about that. You'll have to talk to your Sask Association of Watersheds representative on this one. So Super U is still eligible for the off-calf rebate, and you're capped out at a certain amount, and and that'll be up to the grower to take into consideration for their application and discussion with the agronomist. So we basically have a very good yield for any of the fertilizer treated trials. And it was interesting to note that there was a difference in the wet mass bio weight and the dry mass bio weight for the different products. That is all available in our final report that is posted on the website. For today, I'm focusing on just the seed growers. Now, drum roll, please. The takeaways. Number one, we have very little research to support seed grower decision regards to 4R practices for nitrogen management. But what we do know is, based on the research in bromegrass, you have to think about what nutrients are available to your hybrid bromegrass plants in the fall of the year before seed harvest. That determines your seed yield potential. Number two, we have shown on the 2023 residual data that we did post-harvest after first year seed production, you really got to get out there and do your fall soil test, especially if you had drought conditions. Depending on the product, you'll have different amounts of residual left. And it's super important to also keep in mind that our study was done at Melfort. This site had very high organic matter. And if you want to take these results and apply them directly to your fields where you have low organic matter, it's a whole new ballgame. So you got to make sure that you discuss all of your results with an agronomist and soil tests so that you know what you also need to apply for P, K, and S. Again, crucial to your seed production and your biosynthetic pathways. We found no differences that were discernible for significant values doing statistics to tell you what's the right time of application. There was no difference in plant height, lodging, or seed yield. There are differences between the fertilized and no fertilizer treatments at all application times, as we showed in the previous slide. The different right sources of nitrogen stabilizers were eligible for rebates, for the off-calf rebates, but it's very important for you to know that we did not adjust for the efficiency of the different nitrogen stabilizers. For example, a standard practice would be to, instead of using the 120 pounds per acre, if you had that enhanced efficiency product with either Anvil, for example, or Super U, you would not need to apply the 120 pounds per acre. You can reduce that to, so for example, 25% lower rate, but again, discuss with your agronomist. And again, I put on 0.5 just so that you recognize the responsive timing and form of N will likely be different for marginal land, sandy soils, and fields with low organic matter compared to where we did the trial. So going forward, we're really looking for growers who might be interested in testing one of these products on their marginal land and hybrid bromegrass grown for seed. In closing, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Brianne McGuinness and their team at NARF, and to the provincial government through the ADOPT program for the sponsorship, and so that we could actually do this research 2 years. And we're hoping that we can procure some funding so that this year we can, for third year seed production, we may also be able to actually measure the nitrous oxide emissions from each of the treatment. And that would help us understand which different fertilizers will be impacting the environment in the long run. Thank you for your kind attention, and good luck and best wishes for a great season in 2025.